Hey, it's Sarah from the Dainty Pear, and don't mind my post-church Sunday hair. That rhymed and I did not even mean for that to happen. Anyway, I was so stoked a couple of weeks ago to be interviewed by Reagan from the Luckiest Mom podcast. It was a couple of days before Valentine's Day. I think it aired the day after Valentine's Day, but I just got to talk about mine and Tom's love story. And we all know that relationships are not perfect. They can be very, very hard, but I'm a sucker for a good love story. So I included the audio in this video for anyone who might be interested, and you can just tune out. I put the audio to cheesy pictures of Tom and me that I still love so much. But I do go kind of into depth about how our first year of marriage was not easy at all. And I've blogged about this before. I'll put the link to that blog in the description box below. But we did go to counselors, we went to therapy, we tried to figure things out. It turned romantic and into marriage pretty quickly. But when you take two different people and put them together, there's always some adjusting and things to be learned. And so we talk a little bit about that. We talk about love languages, we talk about all that fun stuff. So I'll cut to the audio. Be sure to check out her podcast, and I will talk to you guys later.
Hey moms, thanks for listening to the Luckiest Mom podcast. I'm Reagan, a wife and a mother, and I'm here with my friend Sarah, and she's going to share her love story with us. Sarah, how did you and Tom come to be?
Thank you, Reagan. I'm excited to talk to you again. So Tom and I, it's kind of a funny story because my roommate and I were, I was going to UVU in Utah, and it was over the summer, and so my roommate and I were going to go play some sort of game with some friends. Mm-hmm. And I had a volleyball tournament the next day, and we were just going to go hang out for a little while. And as we were heading to this apartment, it took so long to find a parking spot. Like, oh my goodness, like we were driving around forever, it felt like. And we ended up parking at the top of the street and walking down, and I just had this overwhelming feeling, kind of, but it was also just kind of a spontaneous thought that I'm like, we should just cross the street. And she was like, why? Like, we're on the side of the street, and it's beyond. I'm like, I don't know. Just like crossing the street. So we cross this street, and just seconds later, we hear this voice that says, "Are you girls lost?" And we look over, and in the car next to us that we were walking by, there were these two boys in there, and it ended up being Tom and his roommate. And so we lied and said yes, and got in the car with them, kind of ditched our other friends that we were going to play some games with, and went to Taco Bell, went and hung out in Provo, and just got married 6 months later.
Oh my word. That's crazy. That's so nuts.
It was crazy. And I feel like, seconds later, the story could have been totally different if we hadn't crossed the street, or if we had found a parking spot right away. I felt like there was total higher power in us meeting, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So was it love at first sight?
So I was thinking about this, and I've talked to Tom. I've talked to Tom about this. I don't think I thought of it that way. And I felt like I had felt that way with maybe previous boyfriends that I'd had, where I just saw them and like, oh my gosh, I want to date them. Like, I would love to get to know them. And I did feel that way about Tom, but I was having so much fun. I was 100% myself. I wasn't nervous, and everything just happened so naturally. And so I didn't realize until like a week later, like, oh my gosh, like, and we would joke about like, oh yeah, when we're married, just the first night that we met, we were kind of joking about it, and it was a total joke. And then a week later, I'm like, I think I could actually marry him.
Oh my word!
And it felt very quick, but it also felt really natural. So
just so normal. So my husband and I actually were talking about this too. We our love story is going to be published on Valentine's Day, because he's my Valentine. But I was just like, it was fast. We just kind of knew it. Yeah. But at the same time, we didn't.
Oh, totally. I feel you there. That's what happened.
You look back and it's like, wow, we were really dumb. Like that. It was so fast and just so much love and emotion, and
Yeah.
we just like didn't think through through
Yeah.
all of it.
I love it though, and I love love stories, and I feel like sometimes I feel like with anything really, like starting a new job, starting a family, getting married, if you think about it too much, like I definitely think there's a process you should go through and you should feel right and okay about it. But if you think about it too much, you can talk yourself out of anything.
Oh, absolutely. I am a classic like overanalyzer. And so
Yes.
to know that my Heavenly Father knew that about me and was just like, I have to make it so right and just so happy and good that she doesn't ever even like stop and go, wait a second.
I totally agree. That's awesome. I love that it happened with you guys too.
We were not quite as fast as you guys, but my husband left for the summer before we got married to sell security systems. So we probably would have been as fast as you guys, but
well, actually, I feel like that is some of the best kind of dating. And I did forget this part of the story. So he was traveling a lot for work. So he was gone basically Monday through Friday and maybe Thursday. And so we'd only have the weekends together, but we kind of dated over the phone. And so we talk until 3 a.m. And it was, in my opinion, it was kind of awesome because we got to know each other and got to know these deep parts of each other's hearts over the phone. And that physical, like the physical part of it was totally taken out of it during the week. And so like we weren't too busy making out to talk, you know?
Yeah. So when you first saw him, was it like the heavens opened up and it was like, ah, or was it just like, oh, he's like nice and trying to help me? And another question, was your husband stalking you guys? Like, how did he know that you guys seemed lost?
That's a good question. And the story sounds pretty sketchy because we did meet him on the side of the road. And when I'm at church and they were giving a talk and they asked me to tell it, I'm like, I have a good reason for being on the side of the road. You know, I wasn't like trying to make money. I feel like I have to over explain it. It's pretty bad, but no, he was moving his car so that it wouldn't get towed because Provo is notorious for towing these cars. And so he was moving his car at the same moment that we were walking by. And his side of the story is that he kind of looked in his rearview mirror, saw us coming, and asked his roommate, like, how do we meet girls like that? That was his thing. And so his roommate rolled down the window and was actually the one to say, are you girls lost? Because he's like this. And he rolled down the window. And my husband was like, oh my gosh, he's such an idiot. Like,
I'm so embarrassed.
So embarrassing. But it was really fun. And so it was really dark. I kind of squinted in to make sure they weren't like creepers or anything. Yeah. But you could just tell, like, he just had a light. They both had just lights about them, and they seemed really nice and fun. And we made some connections. So his like high school best friend was one of my college best friends, and somehow we had just never met. And like his roommate had served an LDS mission in my mom's hometown. Oh my goodness. So we got them on the phone. So my mom, all of this is going on at the same time. My roommate and I are hopping in the car. My mom is on the phone with his roommate, and oh my goodness. It was just kind of funny. So my mom was actually in Canada visiting her sister the weekend that we went on our first date, and we called her together, and she knew that I was just so happy. She said she had never heard me sound that happy. She said it was like I sounded like I was glowing.
Oh my goodness.
She knew it was special, and the first time, our first date was actually a double date with his parents, and his mom said that she knew the second we were together. So it just, yeah.
That gave me goosebumps. That's really, really cute. I love that. A little bit creepy at first because, like, as a mom, I'd be like, what the heck are you thinking?
I know. My neighbor from growing up, she's like my second mom. She was like, you hopped in a car with a boy you didn't know? Like, I'm glad I didn't see you in the newspaper. Like, I'm glad that they didn't kidnap you guys. That would have been, it was pretty funny.
Oh.
So.
And so then you guys dated for how long? Were engaged for how long? And all of that stuff.
Yeah, so I think we dated for 4 or 5 months and we were engaged for 2. So maybe it was 7 start to marriage. So it kind of speaks to everything though in our marriage. If we're pretty like pedal to the metal. So if we feel something is right, we go a lot based on our gut rather than maybe logic sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I feel like maybe we talked about this before too. I don't know, but we I don't know. Like we've had 5 kids in 7 years of marriage, and we've started businesses. Like if we just go purely off of our feelings, and it's not been a bad thing. I think it's been pretty great.
Good. I mean, probably not the easiest thing either, but
yeah, it does create challenges when we're both kind of like minded like that. There's not one of us like holding the other back or dragging our feet like, well, maybe we should wait. We're both just like, hey, let's just do that.
Let's just do it. So yep. I would consider that spontaneity. Have you guys done anything spontaneous, like huge, besides having that many children in that amount of time that has just like altered everything?
I feel like even though we're spontaneous, I still feel like we're still thoughtful. So, but he has started a business, let's see, 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago almost, where he left a really great job. He had this dream to have his own company, and he always gives me wings to do what I want to do, and he felt good about it. We had just had this newborn. We had another baby, so we had 2 kids, and I'm like in the hospital room, like recovering from having a baby, and he's like, I think we need to start this business. And so like within just a couple of months later, we had quit our job, started living off of our savings, and started this other company. And that has been hugely changing. It's been a great thing though. And I mean, that might be a story for another time, but I'd say that's one of the big things.
I think that is awesome. You said he always gives you wings, and it sounds like you do the same to him. When you guys did add children in the mix, how did your love change?
Oh, I feel like our feelings for each other never changed, but the effort that we had to put into it became like, it wasn't just easy because we were together all the time and no other responsibilities. Like we had to put effort into nurturing our relationship. So, and I was so sick during the pregnancies that it was really hard for me to want to be physically intimate. Like we had definite challenges that made things a little bit rocky at times. And so like in between babies, things are awesome. It's during the pregnancies, it was definitely a little bit challenging on that front. And even before even though I feel like we were meant to be all of that stuff, our first year was really, really rocky, and to the point where I didn't know if we were even going to stay married, which is so sad to say now, but I don't know. We went to therapy together. We were trying. And I don't know necessarily if the therapy helped us. We didn't find the right person. I don't think we tried like 2 or 3 different people. But I think what helped us was that we each saw each other's effort, and we saw that we wanted to make it work. And it didn't help that I had like crazy hormones going on. Things were not reality. It was just, I want to say that that's probably more normal than we think. I think there are a lot of couples out there that are like, holy crap, what did I do? Yeah. And that doesn't mean you made the wrong decision. I think that you choose your love, you love your choice. And I'm not saying there aren't circumstances where they're extenuating circumstances, of
Right.
course. But when there are two good, righteous people that want to make it work, I really feel like you can. And so that's kind of where we're at now. And that was my really long answer to your question.
No, I think that you're so right. It has a lot to do with what we talked about before, how you can talk yourself out of anything if you think long enough about it. And love is one of those things that you shouldn't think too long about, but you should work hard at. And I think that whether you get married and it's perfect and lovely the first year, or if it's hard and you have to go to marriage counseling and you have to, cry yourself to sleep more nights than not. It's part of it. It's a learning process and it's a growing process. And through that, you can either love each other more and better, or you can grow apart.
Yep, absolutely. And I feel like I like to say that you can't truly be a diamond of a partner without going some sort of refiner's fire in marriage. And so I just feel like all of those things, if you can stick it out, it will make you better and it will make you stronger and it will make you know how to love and be able to support your partner in a deeper way. And I don't know. So I think those things are good things, even though they're hard in the moment, and definitely spent many nights crying myself to sleep. You take two different people that have different communication styles, that have different paradigms, that grew up differently, that have different parents, and you come together and try and put that and mush it together in a marriage. Like, I think it can be pretty tricky, but that doesn't make it the wrong thing to do.
Yeah. So that just made me think, have you done like the 5 love languages test? And do you know your love language and your husband's? Are they different?
So and they have changed since we first got married.
So interesting.
So mine, when we first were dating and stuff, was definitely physical touch. I loved to be like right next to him, like holding hands. I still love to hold his hand, but it was very physical touch oriented. I just wanted to be right next to him. And now his is physical touch. And after a long day with 5 kids touching me all day, mine is service and words of affirmation.
I told my husband last night, like, truly, I was like, I just don't get touched nicely very often. And he's like, what does that mean? I said, I get touched all day long, like truly all day long. And by the end of the day, I'm just like, nobody touch me.
Oh, it's true. And when they spend a full day at home, they're like, I understand what you do, what you mean.
Yes.
And I love that. I love to snuggle with my kids. I love all that stuff. I love to be yanked on, and like when they say mom a million times, I love it. But I feel like there's like sometimes everybody just needs a little bit of breathing room. Right. And I still love to greet him with a hug and a kiss. But like I just need like a second.
Yeah.
when he gets home. So
same. And I mean, I think that everybody has a limit for everything, Yes. Whether it's physical touch or whether it's words of affirmation or service, there's a limit where, in service, whether somebody's giving it to you because they know you need it or because they think you need it, you start to go, I don't need your help anymore.
Or because they know that if that's your love language, maybe there's something in it for them too. I think in marriage there's some of that. But yes, for the most part, we do keep that in mind, and he caters pretty well to my love languages, and I try and reciprocate that in my own way. I mean, it's always something that you have to figure out, and I feel like they change and you have to adjust, and it's just a process, which is what makes it fun.
I think it's pretty cool that your love language has changed since being married and having kids. It kind of tells like a story, your love doesn't stay the same. It goes from a naive, like butterflies in your stomach, excited love to this mature, deep understanding of one another.
I totally agree.
So now that your husband owns his own business and you have owned your own business and you have these 5 little kids and your love is constantly changing, has there ever been a point in time where you guys have been able to share your knowledge of love with other people and see it help them change their lives?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like I was one of the first of my friends to maybe get married and have kids so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have had a lot of conversations with people where it's because we did go through that first year of marriage, and some people's first year marriages are great. And
right.
I think some people are just built to be pliable, to put someone else's needs first. They're just made to do that. Mm-hmm. And maybe some other people aren't. Mm-hmm. And I never thought that I wasn't like that until I was in this situation. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a little bit tricky. and so I think because we went through that, before a lot of like our friends did, mm-hmm. We were able to just kind of offer a hug if they needed it, right. and some encouragement. And we had some friends that did that for us too. We were in the midst of we were still going through to counseling. I was just at a point where it would have been easier for us, way more simple to just be like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
and not work on it. And I'm sure a lot of people have felt that way, but, and in reality, it's probably not easier. There are a lot of, ramifications to that, but, I don't know. I just think knowing that it's not always perfect, we were able to kind of offer that to just acquaintances, people that we didn't know very well, mm-hmm. but other people, even if you're not saying anything, they can look at your marriage, for good or bad as an example. And mm-hmm. I mean, we can all look at the relationships around us and we kind of have these preconceived notions, what's going on, and so I feel like us kind of opening up and trying to be honest about it. I have a couple blog posts on marriage where, I've tried to be really open and just transparent about the fact that it's not always easy, but that it is wonderful and it is awesome. And we've been working on a YouTube video together too. So we try and put it out there. I mean, everybody's is so different, but mm-hmm. if we can offer ours and it can help anybody, then I'm all about that.
Yeah. I think that everybody has something to offer. Their story teaches lessons to people all over the place, whether they think it's normal or not. And that's part of my goal here. I mean, sharing love stories. I love love. It's it makes me so happy and warm inside.
Same.
But I just feel like there's so much to learn from people at every stage of their marriage and their life. And so mm-hmm. giving people an opportunity to share their stories is part of my goal.
That's awesome. And I totally agree. And I actually, my brother-in-law who's dating, so he's not married, and we tried to set him up with this girl and they kind of hit it off and I got Twitter baited. I'm like, and I feel invested in this relationship, and would I ever want to go back and date and do the first, just everything we've been through together again? No. I wouldn't go back actually at all. Same. But I still love it, and I still believe in marriage and in love. And I think a lot of the world, I don't know, they are so quick to be like, well, all marriages end in, or 50% of marriages end in divorce. Mm-hmm. It's like, you don't go and throw negative facts into somebody's love story. Okay. Right. That is off limits.
Not allowed.
So, if we can just get enough, I mean, there are so many good examples out there of amazing, strong marriages that have lasted for decades. And so I love that you're doing this too. It's just awesome.
Thank you. Well, in closing, Sarah, thank you for coming and thank you for sharing your story. I think it's adorable, and I'm glad that Tom didn't kidnap you.
Well, he kind of did. I maybe take his last name and like
He kidnapped your heart, right?
He did. He stole my heart.
Do you have anything to share with the moms that might be listening that you could give a piece of advice to them about marriage or about love or dating? Anything that you'd like?
Oh, I don't know if I have anything other than what's been said. I feel like if we can see the experiences that we have in marriage, whether negative or positive, if we can flip it and just see them in a positive light and see that those are the things that are going to help us grow and to be that diamond partner. Every hard experience, every negative interaction, everything that happens, we can learn from. And over time, we know like which buttons can be pushed and which to steer clear of. You know, what they love and like what, you know, we just grow to know them better. And so I would just try and see everything in a positive light. And that can be really hard, especially because I feel like going into a marriage, you're like stoked and you're like, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to learn from all this stuff. Like you're just pumped. And then you get into the throes of it and it can feel like it's kind of swallowing you whole. And it's not the same fun, exciting, like I'm so happy and eager to learn, like feeling that it was before, especially when you throw the exhaustion of pregnancy or like sickness or the hormones of it into the mix. Like that can be pretty tricky. And so just remembering that it's not easy, but it does get easier if you work on it. Then I think that I don't know. I think that would probably be some of my advice.
I love it. That's perfect. I think you're right. As long as you're willing to work for it, it can get better and easier, and it can return to some of those moments of excitement and Twitter-patedness.
Yes. And I know, and I think it does take two people. Like, I know that there are a lot of women that want, or men who want their marriage to work and their partner is like not wanting it to work. And that's it's a whole different scenario. But I know that if both people want it to work and you are actively doing that, then that's totally possible.
That's perfect. I think you're right. Thank you for agreeing to do this. I think that you're awesome. So thanks so much.
That is mutual.